DC here. Hi, guys and girls. Well, hope you're well. It is Sunday afternoon. Actually, quite late. It's already 5:30 in the afternoon. Oh, it's been a pretty good day after several days of mostly raining, but it's kind of nice actually. And the temperature is like 19, 20 Celsius. So yeah, it's okay. And there's a little bit of wind, so I don't know how you'll hear it, but it doesn't matter. Oh, we're at church this morning, and we had a special service. We have a new pastor, and it was what we call the transition service. We're basically passing on the baton from one pastor to another. And after we had a few things to eat, we got a lot of Africans in the church, and they make if you read novels that talk about things that people like to eat in Africa, you will often hear about fat cakes. And fat cakes is a little bit like balls, and a little bit like donuts, but yeah, they're pretty greasy actually, but they're pretty good. If you ask me personally, I prefer donuts, but I can get, like, people seem to go wild for those. They've always been very popular, and it seems like they make variants of those, I guess, a bit all over in Africa, because we have quite a few Africans from Congo, but Cameroon we've had them, and I've had them in different places. So yeah, it seems to be a type of African specialty. I was thinking about that though, passing on the transition phase, and how often there was one message at one point where the new pastor said, I don't want you to expect me to be, the old guy that you had. Well, he didn't say old guy, he was much more nicer than that. But he said, I am myself. And it was the same thing that the former pastor said. He says, we have a new pastor now. It's not like a clone, a carbon copy. He is his own man. Now, if you're wondering, some of you might, if we have women doing this job. Actually, we do. We already have one who does some pastoral work, but she's actually a theologian who teaches in the university, and she's helps part-time at our church. But like I say, she's a theologian, and she also teaches in a Chinese church. She's not Chinese, she's Swiss. She learned Chinese, and she basically did her doctoral studies in the USA. So yeah, we have women, and we have very competent women. Yeah, because sometimes people think that evangelicals are anti-woman, and it's no, that's a completely wrong, stereotypical, I was going to say observance or an annoyance at the same time. People can be even complimentary and not be complementarian, I should say, actually, and not denigrate women. But anyway, that's not what I want to talk about. You know how it is with vlogging. You end up sometimes going on side roads, and ends up being the vlog, and that's not what it was meant. I didn't even know, really. I did want to talk though about one thing, is that how people expect people to be, when they say walk into your father's shoes or your mother's shoes, and I haven't known many people that were called juniors, like, or so and so is the third, after junior or something like that. But usually, I'm not saying it's always the case, but very often, the people that do that do kind of like want to perpetrate basically their memory or so on. It's I guess it's kind of an obsession with just not wanting to give out on who you are, and hoping that the others will continue. I think it is a very important thing. Like my dad, was not in that was not like that. He definitely wanted us to be our own person, and I think that was something that we clearly appreciated from him. He wanted the best for us. He definitely wanted the best for us, and he encouraged us to be our own persons. But he never said, "I want you to be the same as me or follow in the same job or whatever." So I don't know. I guess it might be a family thing. I know that I have known a few families where people have had businesses and were hoping, in a way, and I can understand it. We're hoping that the children would follow up with the business. My in-laws, for example, had at the last part of their life they had a store, and their boys took over. Some of the boys took over the store, but they continued in their own way. And in that respect, I mean, my father-in-law was also not, at least not in the last years, trying to impose his way of seeing things. He did a little bit when he was still a boss, but when he was still a boss, he was the boss. Yeah, I guess it is something, isn't it? Society really, very often we'd like people to, as I say, follow in our footsteps. I think it's also in the same way when we look at, I guess it's when we look at generations that follow us and think about the good old days. I mean, I do that myself quite a bit, actually. I like to, to look at the good old days because they're my days. And it's true that today's day is not mine. And sometimes I do regret what I consider very often a lack of morals, a lack of straight thinking, losing what I consider to be the knowledge of good and evil. But I guess to be fair, everybody has to become themselves because everybody is created uniquely, a unique and I was going to say self person. We're not clones. And I guess not being clones means that we have to make our own decisions in that respect. So yeah, it's it finally does work out into, I was going to say, into my Christian worldview. But something, I think everybody will say it's not easy because everybody, essentially everybody, wants to not only get along, but to have people that think like they do. I think that one thing though is good is that when people have different opinions, I'm not being, it doesn't have to be a diametrically different opinion, but to have an opinion, be in front of somebody who has a different opinion means that you will be forced to think. If you're forced to think, that means that you're using your brain. There was a quote that I saw not too long ago. I can't remember the name of the person. About the person the people that don't win are the ones that have the most motivation. The people that always win kind of take it for granted after a while and might even start to take things for granted. But the one who doesn't win is going to work at it, is going to want to win, and is going to want to grow. Now, you can look at it in different ways. It can be both negative and positive. But let's look at it in a positive way. The glass should be half full. Anyway, that was my vlog for today. And I said coming up to 10 minutes. So that's it. So it'll be DC signing off. Take care, everybody, and hope you have a great Sunday. Bye.